Hello friends, this is Ralph and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm showing you how to set up and use the Duo mode on the Behringer 2600 synthesizer. So stay tuned. The Duo mode in the Behringer 2600 is a voice mode that enables the synthesizer to play two notes simultaneously, transforming it from a monophonic to a duophonic instrument. This feature is based on the classic ARP 3620 keyboard design with its duophonic capabilities. By the way, if you are new here, know that on my YouTube channel you will find a plethora of tutorials for the Behringer 2600, which also apply to the original ARP 2600 and other 2600 synth clones. So, if that interests you, please hit the subscribe button. And now, without any further ado, let's jump over to the Behringer 2600 Grey Mini. Okay friends, we are looking here at the Behringer 2600 Grey Mini. Please be informed that I have connected an Arturia KeyStep keyboard controller to the 2600 via 5-pin MIDI. You can also use USB MIDI. That depends on the equipment you have at your disposal. When you connect your MIDI keyboard, please make sure that you set the MIDI channel numbers correctly on the 2600 and on your keyboard controller. Alright, in today's video we are talking about the Duo mode. And in particular, we are talking about this jack here, the upper voice jack, and this switch here, the voice mode, mono to duo. Let me quickly touch on these three outputs here, the trigger out, the gate out, and the keyboard CV out. When you connect a MIDI keyboard, then the MIDI signals are converted into CV and gate signals inside the Behringer 2600, and that's how the synthesizer operates internally. And with these jacks here, you can set a trigger, a gate, and a keyboard CV signal to other modules here on the 2600 synthesizer, or to an external synthesizer, or to external Eurorack modules. I have prepared a tutorial in which I am using the Behringer 2600 as a MIDI to CV gate interface to control my Oberheim OB1 monophonic synthesizer. And moreover, I have also another tutorial about the 2500 modules, in which I'm also using the Behringer 2600 as a MIDI to CV gate interface. I put the link to both videos into the video description. If that is something that interests you, then please check out these videos. Alright, so I have the synthesizer, the Behringer 2600, in mono mode at the moment. And just oscillator number 1 and oscillator number 2 are playing. So what I am going to do now, I take here a patch cable, plug it into the upper voice jack, and then I go to oscillator number 2, the keyboard CV input jack, and plug in this cable. So then I set this switch here from mono to duo, and now I can play the synthesizer in duophonic mode. That's just mono, and now I play an interval. Alright, on the rear of the Behringer 2600 we have one jack, which is called interval latch. I have already set it up. It is a connected foot switch. Here it is. So, and when I now press an interval on the keyboard, and then I press the foot switch, and then I play just a mono key, the interval is applied. I press the foot switch again, and it's back to mono. Play an interval, press the foot switch, release the keyboards. It's the interval again. So let's disengage it. And now I want to show you how I can also use oscillator number 3. That means we are going to use a longer cable because we are going to use, or we need, the multiplier jacks here. So we take out this cable. We take a longer cable, plug it here into the upper voice jack, go to the multiplier row, and then we take one signal from the multiplier row and plug it here into the keyboard CV jack of oscillator number 3. Let me bring up oscillator number 3 also in the audio mixer section of the VCF. And we also take now another CV signal from the multiplier row and plug it here into the keyboard CV input jack of oscillator number 2. So another thing I want to do, because I want to make the sound a little bit fatter, we are going to use the pulse wave of oscillator number 3. The pre-wired connection is the sawtooth wave, so we overrun this connection by using this output jack and plug it here into the input of oscillator number 3. So when I make this connection, the pre-wired connection is broken and replaced with the connection that I have just patched. So we have here now the pulse of oscillator number 3. You can hear this. When I take out the cable, you can hear it's the sawtooth. Okay, back to pulse. So then now when I bring up all 3 oscillators and I press an interval on the keyboard, we can hear that all 3 oscillators are playing. Oscillator number 1 is playing the lower note, and oscillator number 2 and 3 the upper note. All right, so we make the sound a little bit fatter now by using the LFO. And we take here the triangle waveform output of the LFO and plug it here into the pulse width modulation slot of oscillator number 2. So let's just listen to oscillator number 2 only. I bring up the slider, increase the LFO speed, and you can hear how the triangle waveform of the LFO is modulating the pulse width of oscillator number 2. So let's bring up oscillator number 3 only. We take the sine wave output of the LFO and plug it here into the pulse width modulation slot of oscillator number 3. So now listen what happens when I bring up the slider. Okay, you can hear the pulse width modulation. I bring up oscillator number 2 in the mixer section of the VCF. You hear both oscillators. Let's delay a little bit the waveform of the sine wave. So you can hear that the sine wave modulation is kicking in a little bit later. I bring up oscillator number 1, and now we play it in duophonic mode again. We bring up the reverb. Let's use an external delay. A little bit of reverb. Let's play a little bit with a portamento. And let's apply a little bit of vibrato to all 3 oscillators. Okay, this was the Duo mode. Please stay tuned for more tutorials about the Behringer 2600 and additional gear that can be used together with the 2600 synth. I leave you now with some more sounds of the Behringer 2600 playing in Duo mode. But before I go, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again in my next video. Until then, take care, stay safe, and peace out. I catch you in my next video. Ciao for now.